summertime, it felt right drinking cherry wine with you. Just wanted to own it, just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here, oh, we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you.
You don't fucking move. You understand? Okay. No matter what. Okay. Be quiet. Be very good.
Okay. Welcome to the Everything Sparkle Show. Ciro, I was so happy that you're finally on my show because I wanted you for months.
Well, I like to not make people who want me wait that long. I'm sorry it took so long, but I'm happy to be here.
There was a time zone thing because you were living in Europe. Tell us about that.
Well, I was in Spain over there. You know, I have a big contract deal with Wanda Halicon and a few other international broadcasting giants over there. So I was over there to film the Mob King, the series, but you know, COVID happened and kind of locked everything down. Spain was terrible there for lockdowns. It was probably the worst place to be locked down. You know, they didn't let us out for anything except to go to the grocery store. But I did that. And then I had a little bout with diverticulitis and a whole host of issues there medically, which I've finally resolved. And now I'm looking to go back in about a month. Hopefully, you know, Spain seems to be cooperating a little more now. So we'll get over there and we'll film Mob King, the series.
I love it. I've watched, is it just one season? Because I've seen up to episode 5. Is there beyond that?
Yeah, we started, I started as a web series, you know, so, you know, I did everything basically on my own. You know, I wasn't, you know, I'm not one of these big Hollywood. I'm definitely anti-Hollywood as far as what they're used to, you know. And so I came up with the concept to do it. You know, I had to find something legal to make money, you know, and so I did that, and I released a 15-minute, you know, proof of concept, basically in episode 1, and it caught fire, you know, got millions of views, generated a huge fan base. Now I have millions of fans on social media, and, you know, we made 5 episodes there, won a bunch of awards for it, and got picked up.
So this is loosely based on a true story. It's not fully based on a true story. You took some concepts you saw and then made it into this concept piece, correct?
I got, you know, I think the thing that people like about the content that I create, which is not just Mob King, I have another mob drama that I just finished a pilot called Silent Partners, which is loosely based on another true story. But I think why people resonate with what I got going on is because it's not your stereotypical, you know, New York wise guy stuff, you know, with the short Italians hanging out on the corner or whatever. South Florida has always been different when it comes to that. There's a lot of different entities down here, and I'm able to capture those beats because I ran in the streets, you know. So it's very difficult for mob shows to get it right, and that's why so many of them fail. It's very difficult for mob movies to get it right. That's why so many fail. That's why
what is the reason why they fail? What are they doing wrong?
Well, number one, they try that stereotypical stuff where they're always, you know, they think that, you know, it's all about, I got better have my effing money, you know, it's not all that's what it's about. You know, I mean, your really good ones, when you get people to say, what's your favorite mob shows? They always have the same ones: Casino, Goodfellas, Godfather, you know, Bronx Tale, you know, and then they draw a blank because all the rest are just, you know, it's hard to find actors, from what I'm told, in Hollywood now, because, you know, I'm in those circles. It's hard to find actors that can resonate as a bad guy on screen and be believable. That's why they use the same ones over and over. And I guess I'm able to do that. You know, I'm winning a lot of awards, and like I said, I'm up for an Emmy, a couple of Emmys actually. I'm up for one for comedy and one for the Mob King. We call it 2.0, but it's actually the first 22 minutes of the movie that I'm going to be filming here in a week and a half. I'm putting a Mob King down to a movie now. So I entered it in all the film festivals. It won everywhere. I won Best Actor. I got over 100 awards in the last 3 months. So it's really propelling me up in those circles and getting me into conversations with people that I never thought I'd be having conversations with, you know. So it's a pretty good thing. And I'm looking forward to doing the movie.
Piece? What's the comedy piece that you're in an award for?
It's called Suitcasing. It's it's a prison comedy. Again, a true story, something that happened while I was in prison. So, you know, it's pretty funny. It's how that particular episode is a proof of concept. Once again, I make these proof of concepts and put them out and see how they're doing. And it's blowing up on Amazon Prime. So you can catch it on Amazon Prime. Just search Ciro Dapagio or Suitcasing and you'll see it there. It's only 10 minutes, but people love it. It's how they get contraband into prison. It's pretty funny.
So tell us some of the conversations you've been having. Who have you met that you were like shocked you were actually in a room with talking to?
In my past life, I met a ton of celebrities, so I don't really get blown away by that type of thing. I think it's pretty cool. Some of the relationships that I developed, like with James Russo, he's a guy that played in Donnie Brasco, Django Unchained, a whole bunch, over 300 movies. And me and him get along really well. And, you know, it's just certain people that you meet who you don't necessarily think you'll develop a good friendship with, and you do. You know, I'm not exactly everybody's cup of tea. You know, I'm a little rough around the edges. You know, I'm not politically correct. I don't, you know, follow a blueprint, you know, on how I do things. So that might turn some of those people off in Hollywood or whatever, because everything that I do and my name and everything that I've made is stuff that I've created myself. I haven't done other people's projects. I haven't done other things. You know, I turn that stuff down because I want to create my own stuff, you know, and I want to be known for my own stuff. So when I first started, you know, a lot of guys that I have around me that are Emmy Award winners, part of my team, you know, the actor Anthony Carone, who's been in Hollywood for 30 years and everything you could possibly imagine. You know, he told me, before I hitch my train to you, I want to make sure you can pull it off, you know? So we did a little test. You know, he had me go down there and memorize 9 pages of dialogue that he did from something, one of those series he did on Netflix or something. And I nailed it. So, you know, he was basically, all right, we're going to film this. And if it's no good, you got to be open to putting somebody else there instead of you. I'm like, of course, you know, I want to make money. That's,
so you did put somebody else in there?
No, I hit it on all. I just have the ability to do it, which I'm thankful for. And people seem to like me on screen, which I'm thankful for. So it looks like I'm going to have a career at it. I get a lot of offers now to do acting, but I just don't have time for it because of the Mob King stuff and Silent Partners and all the stuff I'm creating, you know?
So when I watched you, you're really good. Your acting's really good. And usually when people play themselves, it goes terrible. I'm sure you've seen a lot of those biopics. So that's what I was saying. You're kind of, you're not exactly playing yourself because you're getting different concepts of stuff you've been around. So what's the character and the persona that how did you create the character that you're playing for Mob King? Because in Mob King, you have a daughter. Do you have a daughter in real life?
Yeah, I have quite a few.
So is it all coming from somewhere? Like, what's this?
Yeah,
tell us about this character and how you developed him.
You know, I draw from things, but what we create now, like the show itself in Spain, is totally fictional. You know, it's my character. You know, he comes home from prison and, you know, he goes about trying to avoid that life, and it just keeps pulling you back in, you know, and stuff like that. So, you know, it's going to deal with the storyline that nobody's really ever dealt with, the Indian casinos over here, you know, and it'll be my relationship with them, trying to basically skim their casinos and the adult nightclubs and stuff like that. It's really interesting. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. It's got a motorcycle element, you know. Of course, George Christie's the former leader of the Hells Angels. He's on my show, and he's got his own show in Spain too. So we're pretty good friends. As far as to answer your question about creating the characters, whenever I get a role, like I've done 4 different franchises that I've launched. One was Brass Knuckles, an anti-bullying thing. I did Suitcase and Prison Comedy. I've done 2 mob dramas. So when I act, I just read whatever, like when I come up with the ideas and the concepts, I give it to my team of writers, which is Jay Bishop, Jokes, Yanes, Emmy Award winner, and they put it into script form for me. And what comes out on the paper, I just see the character in my head and I just do it. You know, it's not so much, you know, whether it was something I used to do or whatever, you know, I mean, I didn't walk around shooting people in the head like it's in the movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, I mean, I went to prison for racketeering, but mine was, you know, money crimes, you know, it wasn't violent stuff, you know? So thankfully, so, you know, that's what it is. And I just use my knowledge of how those things happen. Like I like to call it the beats of the street, how things move, you know. And when people watch it, if they watch it and they can tune in and they live vicariously through these characters, which is why people love prison shows and they love mob shows, because 99% of them are never going to be doing that, but they like to wake up and be like, yeah, what you say to me, man? You know. So if you get it right, they love it. If you get it wrong, they hate it, you know. So
what's that like working with your writing team? Because I assume you have some street life other people don't. So when they bring something to the table and you're like, that's not believable, that's not realistic.
Yeah.
How's the banter back and forth with going through that creative process?
Well, it's great with them because we get along really well, you know, as far as creating, not just like buddies. Yeah, we're pals, but we get along really well with them as far as them being able to pick up what I want to do when I tell them, when I create something, and then they take it and run with it. So yeah, they'll come back and they'll say this and this, and I'm like, that wouldn't happen like that. So we're not gonna put it like that. Anything that I create, I'm never gonna have one of those shows where the guy's sitting at home and he's like, that stuff would never happen, you know?
Right.
Like our fight scenes, you're not gonna see me doing some Jackie Chan type stuff, you know?
Because you're not gonna fight like that.
Mob guys don't do Jackie Chan type stuff, you know? So I want to keep it as legit as possible, you know, and as authentic as possible, so people can relate to it better.
So what I want to know is how, okay, you got out, you had this other life, and now you have this good life. How do you go in front of people and say, hey, I have a concept, watch my stuff? Because you're like a nobody in Hollywood. How did you get to the point to where now you're a somebody? How did you get in front of the right people to look at your content and be like, yeah, that's great?
You can't, unless you know somebody, you can't. What gets you in front of people is content. You have to create. If you create something and it's good, people will find you. This is the day and age of social media. Anything you put out there, you know, if it's good, people are going to find you. Now, of course, I got everybody trying to work with me, but, you know, back then, you know, it was all, I used to hear everything from, I'll never do anything with a criminal, people that you try to get to help you with investments or whatever, be like, oh, I don't deal with criminals, whatever. And now it's like, oh yeah, you've turned your life around. Hey, I'll help you. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I don't need your help now. You know?
I love that. Yeah, you gotta, you know who your loyal players are.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. I mean, you know, look, I wasn't a choir boy before, you know what I mean? So, you know, I did a lot of time for, you know, keeping a lot of people out of jail. And in return, I feel like I built up some karma, you know. I spent a lot of time on ice for that, and got out and decided I'm just not going to do that anymore. You know, my kids suffered, I suffered, and other people suffered, you know, victims, whatever the case may be. I mean, look, that's the rackets are the rackets. You know what I mean? There's you know, there's collateral damage everywhere. So when I got out, I figured, you know, look, man, I got a 20, 30 years left in my life. You know, I got to do something different. So I went into something legit. It's picked up. I don't, you know, I never was a person that just lied to people and, you know, was, you know, that type of person. So now I just try to amplify it all. I try to do good by everybody, create opportunities for people, live by example that you could be one way and now you could be this way. And so I think the story of redemption is what's really grabbing on to the people who may not have paid much attention 3 years ago, especially in LA, especially, you know, with people like Variety Magazine, who I'm going to be doing an exclusive with in February and stuff like that, where here's a bad guy who's doing it the right way now, you know? So people like redemption stories, you know?
And then for you, I mean, because you have the experience you have, I bet you're always kind of looking for loyalty, and you could read people in a way other people can't, right?
Facts.
So when you're doing like a business deal, you're like, oh, this is a legit person and this is not a legit person. You kind of see that right away.
Yeah, you can. I mean, most people can as well, but I think what gives you a little more insight onto whether someone's, you know, they're lacking veracity or not is the fact that everyday people, if they haven't been through a bunch of crap, let's just call it crap, then they give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I give nobody the benefit of the doubt. So that's the difference. So, you know, most people will go through life like if you just meet somebody, like you're sitting anywhere in a restaurant or whatever, somebody comes to talk to you, you automatically give that person the benefit of the doubt because you haven't seen the dark side of things, you know? And so I've seen the dark side of everything. So it's like,
so you have that insight.
Huh?
You have the insight, kind of like a sixth sense in a way of like what's really going on through the BS. You have a sixth sense through the BS.
Yeah. And people that are not genuine, if you have, you know, a conversation longer than 15 minutes about something that you may be knowledgeable in, like you're a host. So if somebody tries to convince you that they're a host and they don't even know how to segue or whatever the case may be, you know, you can spot that. So it's the same thing with the street. You know, you got a lot of people who claim things or, you know, pretend to be somebody, wannabes, whatever the case may be, in whatever aspect they're trying to move up the ladder in. It's very easy to find the holes in the story if it's not legit.
Right. How was it casting? You know, the girl that plays your daughter is really good. Mm-hmm. How do you find all these people?
I got a good eye for that, fortunately, for what we're looking for. You know, I do all my own casting now. I hire every single person myself. I approve all the scripts myself. I basically approve everything myself. It just, you know, once my team writes it and, you know, my director, he'll do the shots and stuff. But even when it comes to editing, I'll be like, yeah, I like this. I don't like that. I like this. I like that. And I'm a perfectionist when it comes to that, you know? So it's just fortunate for me that I hit on something that I'm good at, you know, because it would have really sucked if I didn't, you know, and I would have had to earn money and do what I had to do, because in the end, I'm the type of person that I'm going to feed my family. You know what I mean? So I'm just glad it's the right way. You know, that's all I mean. I'm glad it's the right way. I'm glad I don't have to I'm not in a desperate situation to have to do things that aren't very friendly, you know?
But do you go and like have an open casting session? How do you find these characters? That's what I was wondering.
Now what I do when I find somebody that's perspective, I ask for a reel. If they have a reel, I can tell generally if that's what I'm looking for. And if it is, then I tell them to self audition, you know? But a lot of the actors, I'm like, I like to keep the same type of people. That's why you see the same people in my shows, because I know what I can get from them.
Right.
Talent wise. So, you know, James Russo, Gary Pastore, Anthony Carone, those guys are in Mob King. They're in Silent Partners. And these are very well-established Hollywood names. So, you know, just the fact that they want to keep working with me is a testament that I'm doing something right, you know? Like James Russo says that he'll act in anything that I do whenever I do it, because he loves acting with me. And that's a big compliment, you know?
It's all the team. Yeah, you got that core groove.
Yeah.
Ciro, do you direct all of it as well?
No, Joe Chianes directs.
Joe Chianes directs. So you write it. You're pretty much the content creator, but somebody else directs you and tells you where to stand and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, they don't really tell me where to stand. I mean, we fix the shots, but going into the shots, I know what's being done too. So I'm easy to direct. It's the other people, you know, because, you know, I pretty much know what I'm supposed to do, you know, because I'm in the writing process. I'm in the creating process. And then when they say action, I do what I would do. You know, that's one of the things that I've seen that so many people make mistakes in acting, is that everybody thinks they're a great actor and they don't realize that they're not, you know. And, you know, I would have been the first to say when I see it on screen, if I sucked and people told me I sucked, I wouldn't do it anymore. I would produce shows, you know, I wouldn't act. But you have to be organic. You cannot look like you're acting. Like, how many times have you watched the show and you're like, this person's horrible. This person can't act. This person can't act. And you wonder
how they got the job. Yeah.
Yeah. And you wonder how they got the job. Exactly. So some people just try a little too hard at it, you know, when they say action. And other people like, you know, I've never acted, but I lived a life. I can do whatever. I've seen 100 times people when they say action and they're just like, they freeze up. They don't know what to do, you know? So it takes a certain type of person. That's why there's levels of actors, you know, the ones that you see in the big budgets are always the same actors. There's a reason for that, you know, because they're really good and they can do what they have to do. And other people can't do it. If they did, there'd be somebody else there too doing it, you know? So that's how it is.
I really respect that you're not directing your own stuff. A lot of people, they want to do it all and they're like, I'm going to direct, act. But how did you come up with the decision? No, I want to get a team. I want to have this guy because they're better than me at directing. I'm going to act in this because I'm best at this character. At what point tell us a little bit about that process.
Well, you know, I've always subscribed to the philosophy. If I want to be a smart guy, I need to put a lot of smart people around me. So, you know, I'm very humble by nature. I have no arrogance in me whatsoever. So I need people around me that know how to do what I don't know how to do. I mean, it's fine. I could say, yeah, I'm going to direct. Okay, I want you to stand here, stand there. But is it going to come across as good as somebody who's won Emmys at it, you know, or is it going to come across as good as somebody's been doing it for 20 years? I've been doing it for 3 years. So at some point, it's possible that that transition will be made. But the thing that I like to do most is just create. I like to create shows. I just happen to star in them because I'm doing it good. And, you know, eventually I hope to be creating so many that I can't star in them. I got to cast other people to star in them, you know? So that's what I'm working on now. I'm working on content deals. You know, I got a couple of 2-picture deal in place for the movies. You know, there's a lot of things happening. So I think I'm going to be around for a while doing this.
What's the biggest thing you've learned through everything when you started this process? You're like, wow, I had no idea. And tell us something that you learned.
I learned that every actor that tells me how great of an actor they are, they're terrible. That's what I've learned. You'd be amazed at how many actors are so narcissistic, and they'll message me and tell me, hey man, I'm really great. If you don't put me in your project, it's going to fail and this and that, or I'm better than everyone you had in your last project. Yeah, it's really crazy. And so the first thing that ever happens when somebody tells me they're a better actor than somebody else, I don't even give them an audition, because I don't even care if you're better. I just don't like that attitude. So what I've learned in this business is that it's an ego-driven and a narcissistic business all the way around. And the funny thing about it is these actors, they may pretend, the majority of them, like I'm talking 75%, will act like they're rooting for you, but they really want to see you fail because they want themselves. They feel like they should be the one in that role, or they should be the one. And it's real cutthroat. It's pretty dirty, man.
Who have you mentored through all of this? I'm sure that there's somebody that you've
Karina White, my daughter in the show. Her name's Celine Alba. Character named Karina White.
So you got her when she was fresh off of like not doing anything or a few things, and you kind of molded her.
I mean, I put her in everything I do. So, you know, she talks to me.
How'd you find her?
She looks up to me like I'm her dad. She's 18 now, but she still looks up to me like I'm her dad. And she came on a casting when we were looking for the daughter. And at the time, she was 14. I was very apprehensive about having a 14-year-old with that type of show.
Content, yeah.
But she was really good, as you've seen in those first 5 episodes. So, you know, her parents were there and we got waivers. And, you know, we obviously are going to not disrespect her as a kid, you know, making her do anything really crazy. But, you know, and she's blossomed into a great actress. So you'll see her in the movie and she's great.
I usually don't talk about people's personal lives too much on this show, but you have a lady. Do you want to tell us about that and how you met her and how she feels about the Mob King?
Yes, I do have a lady. You know, she's 27 years my junior. She's a Russian knockout. I was obviously in those circles back in the day. I was very close with her uncle, you know, and he's a big wig in the Russian side of things. He's not even allowed back in this country. He's in Israel somewhere, hiding out from everybody in the world. But anyway, I spoke to him and he was like, hey, you should meet my niece. And I'm like, all right. And he's like, yeah, go check her out on Facebook. See if you like her. I think she'll be great for you. So I went and checked and I come back. I go, oh, what is she, like 14? She looks like a kid. He goes, no, man, mentally she knows what type of people we are. Because look, you know, how we were, me coming out of prison for 20 years, me always getting everything from the street. You know, I'm not, you know, some Harvard guy, you know what I mean? So there's a different mental process that takes place with people like me. I'm the first to admit it, you know, and she was raised around that. So we clicked right away and he was right. Her mental, she's right up there with me, you know, she's 28, but in her mind, she's 48, 50 years old, you know, so.
An old soul.
It's an old soul. But I mean, more importantly, it's a street soul, you know, she knows what time it is with things, you know, so she's very supportive and stuff like that. So, you know, I reached out to her, we hit it off, and, you know, the rest is history. Got a little baby now, Ciro Dapagio, and, you know, it's great.
So, I mean, if I ask a question that's too personal, just tell me to shut up. It's totally fine. I was just kind of wondering, It's because you have older children, and like you kind of said, you weren't necessarily there because you were spending time in the system. So now you're such a great hands-on dad. We all see it. What's your relationship like with your other children? Do they ever get jealous? Like, oh, you're there for him, you weren't there for me. Did you mend the fences? Are you all good? How does it work out?
I'm very close with my girls and my son. Even when we were away, I stayed in contact with them. I put 2 of them through the University of Miami from prison.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I got 2 grads.
Wow. What are they doing? What did they major in?
My son is an aerospace engineer, and my daughter runs a big, huge medical company. So,
well, see, you underestimated the smart gene in you.
I never underestimated. That's why I made him go to the U. I had a baseball scholarship to the U before I decided to join a different type of organization. So, but that's how things go.
So I ask everybody this question. Who were you a fan of growing up that you found out later on was a fan of you and you were surprised, like, oh, wow, this person knows who I am?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, that would be somebody who was famous. I was just infamous. I was never really famous.
It could be somebody that's kind of like infamous, if you will, somebody you didn't know that's now seeing your success and like, wow, it could just be just somebody that you were a fan of growing up that, or a baseball player, or somebody that you're like has watched the Mob King and is now a fan of you.
Oh, well, I get a lot of fans like that. I mean, I actually talked to J-Lo. I had met J-Lo way back in the day when I was a club owner on the beach, but I talked to her again about doing some shows she wanted to do before she started doing that that Blue series, whatever it was. So that was pretty interesting. I had a fun conversation with her about A-Rod, asking if I can get a signed bat or whatever, because I said he's my second favorite player. And she's like, well, who's your first? I said, oh, that's Jeter. If you were dating Jeter, I would insist on coming over. So she got a kick out of that. And I've talked to DiCaprio, Leonardo DiCaprio. And I taught, obviously I had Nick Vallelonga in my show as well. He's a writer and the Academy Award winner last year for Green Book. So, pretty big circles with people for some guy that's just, basic nobody. Like you said, I'm nobody in Hollywood, not yet anyway.
You were, I think you are now. Let's say initially when you came out, I just wondered how
I'm not now. I'm just, look, I'm known for somebody who's putting together good content, and that I got a good eye for mafia drama stuff. And, I'm making a lot of news like that, and I think the biggest thing that I get recognition for is my following, on social media. I have a huge following. I reach millions of people through many different sites that are all geared around my stuff, Mob King this, Mob that, whatever the case may be. Even my personal Facebook page has like 30,000 followers and 5,000 friends, but it's the engagement that makes a difference. Like, you can look at some celebrities' pages and they might have 70, 80 comments, but it's just random, stuff like, oh, I love your last movie, but I engage with my fans. So it's back and forth conversations where they feel like they know, my family, they know me, so I like that aspect. I'm going to always try to do that. My Facebook personal page, I'm going to stay active on. If I become the biggest star in the world, I'm still going to talk to people right on that page, because that's just the type of person I am. I'm not going to have somebody else do it.
So you don't even have like a manager or agent or representation of any kind?
Yeah, I have a manager, Diana Carter. She's great. She's the one that's really taken the lead on, cultivating all of these different awards processes and everything, because it's really taken off on its own. I don't know if you know how the film festival circuit works, but there's like an A league, a B league, and a C league of film festivals, and we're up there knocking off stuff in the A leagues, so it's really a good thing, it's really a good thing.
What advice do you have for people kind of like you that are coming out, starting at, ground zero, and they like, I have this, I have a story, I have a concept, I got this. What advice do you have for them?
There's a ton of people that do that every day. I mean, I get messages nonstop, would I put their film to, would I put their script to film or whatever. And the bottom line is that you just have to do it. You have to, you can't expect other people to help you. I mean, I started myself. My dad passed away. He left me some money, and I spent it all on getting my show running. You know, every last drop, everybody's like, "What are you doing? You got to save some money for this or that." I got to go all in, because you know, you can't expect other people to invest in you if you're not going to invest in yourself. And a lot of people are unwilling to risk things to get where they think they should be. They just want it to fall out of the sky, and it doesn't happen like that.
So where can we find now the next, like I said, I saw 5 episodes and you said that was when it was a web series. So where can I find stuff now? Is there still new content for Mob King, or now you're just working on the film?
Well, yeah, I can show you the first 22 minutes of the film. It's not anywhere really to be seen. It's on my page. It's on the Mob King.
Okay.
It's on the Mob King fan page, which has like, I don't know, 150,000 followers. It's the first video on there. But I'll send it to you so you can look at it, and if you want to post it, that's fine.
Oh, awesome! Thank you so much, Ciro. This was like one of the best interviews. Like I said, I've been waiting for a while. You're down to earth. You're everything I expected. Thank you so much for coming on my show. This is very amazing for me.
How can I not go on anything that sparkles like you?
Thanks, Ciro.
All right.
Welcome to the Everything Sparkle Show. With us is Tyler Mackey. Tyler, how are you?
Doing very well. Good to be with you.
Okay, so tell us what your title is for the Tower District.
So my role in the Tower District, I'm executive director of the Tower District Marketing Committee, which is a 23-year-old business association for the Tower District. It's a nonprofit that represents most of the bars and restaurants and venues down there.
So you mainly handle events. What other kind of affairs are you responsible for?
Well, traditionally my role was an events role. It really was. It was planning the Mardi Gras parade. It was, planning the Taste and Toast of Tower, coordinating all the different street closures and events, pub crawls and all that. COVID, of course, changed everything for so many of us anyways, that when I took on the role last summer, we weren't able to hold any events. So I really took on the role of trying to reform the marketing committee into something that was a little bit more of a community benefit organization for the businesses. So we've been chasing grants. So we chased down over $300,000 in grants to install 11 outdoor dining parklets in the Tower District. We helped craft a $1.5 million grant to save the arts, the theaters, the galleries, and museums. And we managed to get that out to all of our art places, as well as all across the city of Fresno. Right now, the big one is the Tower Theater was announced it was being sold, to someone outside that would really kind of disrupt the nature of our community. So that's been the issue we've taken on in the 2021 year is, just kind of being champions for our community and defending the interests of the community and the district. So we're really just trying to figure out ways to be active players, just to empower the business community and the community at large. And then someday, we hope to get back to events, and I'm going to host some parades and some parties.
You make it sound so simple where you're like, we got this grant, that grant. I know it was a lot of work. Can you tell us how, because you just took on this role, someone stepped down that was on for like 20 years, right? Or he was there for a long time.
Well, no, my predecessor, I think he'd been there about 4 or 5 years.
Oh, okay.
Daniel Renteria, who, is very well known to all of us in the Tower, musician, a restaurateur, a wine aficionado. So when he stepped down this summer, just because he wasn't, there was not a lot of clarity on, what we could even be doing. I just kind of took the skill sets I had, which have a lot to do with organizing and, getting grants and things like that. And I just brought those to bear, thinking, well, we have to give these guys something.
Right. But you like really went to that for us and got these grants. Like, how did you even know what to do? I know it was time, research, and it was a lot of meetings and back and forth before you got us those $1 million grants. Can you go in a little bit into that?
Yeah, so it really came, we really are fortunate in the tower that we are a really unified community. So people really are open to sharing their shared interests so that you can have an understanding. So we have at least 20 business members. And the first thing that I noticed was it was dining, right? All the restaurants and bars were closed. They couldn't go inside. So it was like, okay, we have to have a place to seat people. And we were watching all over the state and all over the country as people were setting up these little easy ups and throwing some tables. Some of it looked kind of unsafe. And we thought, well, there's got to be a way to do this. We also noticed in the tower that all of Fresno was kind of losing their cool over the closures, and just like they were out at protests and rallies. And I just reminded my folks, like, we have this really great relationship with our council members. And I said, let's have a private conversation about what our real challenges are, and let's see what we can do to address them. So one of our community members, Annalisa Perea, who also serves on the Tower Design and Review Committee, came up with this great idea of parklets to expand outdoor dining, but something that was hard built and permanent. And so we just really started making conversations with our council members, with the planning division, and saying, look, we know there's CARES Act funds. We know that it needs to be, sent somewhere, that federal money that the city's been given to reinforce the economy. So we said, here's what we need. And then we spent about 10 weeks developing a parklet program, everything from having people draw up the plans to submitting it to the city, talking about safety, insurance, all that. After about 13 weeks, we got the first 3 approved. And then after that, they expanded. We asked them, can you expand the program for the whole city? And they did. They thought it was a great idea. We went back to council. They expanded it for citywide and opened those grants up across the city for 22 more. And we went in and grabbed another 8.
Wow. And I mean, you said it's a nonprofit position and you're a single dad. How do you find time and the interest and all of this motivation to keep doing this for our community?
Well, I'm not a single dad. I'm married, so I do have support. And my husband has been off work since March of last year as well. He worked for a business that has not been able to reopen since. So fortunately, there's 2 of us at home. That has been one helpful. Of course, we're homeschooling, which we always were, so we were pretty well established that with the second graders, so that can be a little challenging. So I dedicate my mornings, most mornings, till about noon, doing homeschool. Trying to get her through second grade. And sometimes I have to interrupt that, and our day gets dragged out a little bit when I get calls, especially from media, because y'all want calls back fast. And so I'll kind of take calls throughout our breaks, and in the afternoons I just hit the ground running and I start calling businesses. I start calling people. It's an unpaid position for me, but the Tower District is something that a lot of us, our hearts are there. It's our place. It's our space in this world. And so it was just really important that we protected it and held it up. So for me, yeah, I do feel like I sometimes never sleep. But when this is all over, we're gonna have preserved something that's very important to so many people that I keep telling myself it's gonna be worth it all, in the end.
What do you need from us as a community? What can we do to help?
Eat in the Tower District. So right now, we don't have a whole lot of outdoor, we have no outdoor dining, no indoor dining. We don't have big parking lots. It's hard to form lines. It's hard to bring in food trucks. So what we need people to take out food. We need people to be calling in. Irene's is still open. Lucy's is, and Mama Mia's have limited hours still. Bobby's. We've got,
I thought Lucy's was closed.
They might be closed right now, but I know Mama Mia is open for pizza and Bobby's. You can get food still. The Lincoln is open on Fridays. It's a real cool place. They're doing family meals. They're only open 1 day a week. It's just they're trying to figure out how to get by for the moment. And so they're open on Fridays and they're doing family meals. You call in advance. They do this whole banquet for your family. We've got lots of restaurants. Just eat there. I mean, that's all we really need people to do is eat at our restaurants. And as things start to open up, come get your hair cut. Things like that. It's really just stick with us. Hold faith.
I know when I talked to you a few months ago, we put on that little impromptu costume competition for the dogs. You had said something about having a monthly subscription. Can you elaborate? Remember you talked to me about that? I don't know if that's even
for community members. So yeah. So what we're working on right now is we've always been a pretty closed circle business community. We were very small at one time. Now we're over 20 members. the next step of this process is really bringing the community in as a partner. So we did vote last year, and we are working on implementing a program to allow community supporters to start joining. We'll redevelop our website with a list of, sponsors, community sponsors. But basically what it'll do is it'll allow the community an opportunity to be a part of our membership in a sense, as kind of associate members, where they can hear what's going on, join committees and help plan these events. It's going to take a lot of work to bring the tower back when COVID ends. So we're going to want a lot of community buy-in, a lot of people feeling like they have a shared stake in what goes forward in the planning.
So you want as many members as possible, right? It's not just for business owners. It could be like a housewife that just wants to put in her 2 cents. Right? You're looking for everybody to join.
So what we do is our business members have a vote. So our business members determine everything I do. Every project I pursue is done at the direction of the businesses. What we're going to offer up for the community members is a much lower. Those guys pay a pretty decent rate. We're going to offer just kind of a low, like a donor rate, and we're going to offer some perks. Like, of course, we plan to bring back the wine walk. So, if you join as an annual member, you'll probably pay, we'll have a small monthly due.
Okay.
And then it will give you 1 or 2 free passes for the wine walk. We'll give you special perks throughout
So
the
there'll
year.
be little perks. But do we have any power in voting for anything?
It depends. Our bylaws wouldn't allow for it, but what we do want is we want input. So those guys are really swayed by what the community says. The businesses are there to serve the community. So what we're hoping is that people by joining in will feel vested so that they come to all the events. We'll give them some perks. Secondly, we want them to show up to our Friday community meetings when that starts happening.
So, yeah, we do get to be more involved. Okay.
And then they get to voice what they feel. And then that allows us in our general membership meetings, which is for voting members only, it allows us to know what we're doing consistent with the community. So it'll give them a little bit of a voice and a buy-in to how the tower moves forward.
And does it help us doing the $5 or $10 a month or whatever it is, or not really, because we're getting does the money go to help the tower at all, or?
So we are working on figuring out how to get the string lighting back up over the tower district. So that's something. All of the stuff will go back in the tower. We're not profit. Like I said, I don't.
So if I got you 100 members for this, is it something you want, or you're like, I don't even want that many people?
No. Honestly, if we can bring in members to the organization, they can go to right now towerdistrict.org. Or they can send us a check. I mean, right now we are going to start asking for donations.
Okay.
We haven't been able to fundraise in over a year, but we're still doing the work every day. Which is why, I don't take a salary, because we believe that we have to get through this. It's way more important than anybody making any kind of money. So if we can just get people to start donating money, we have lots of things we want to do. We want to get a new flag for our flagpole. We want to illuminate our flagpole. We want to get lighting up the Washon Avenue. We definitely have more plans for how to bring back our events, and that's going to take seed money again, because we've just been going through savings for a year. So we just got to get ourselves where we're in a position to really come back and shine for the community. And so I think a big part of that's going to be bringing the community in as supporters. So in the next month, we'll be working on a drive for that to try and bring in some support.
So what is going on with the Tower Theater? What can you tell us?
Okay, so I'll tell you what I can tell you on the Tower Theater. I've done a lot of interviews on this. So the Tower Theater, during the COVID period, sometime after the first shelter in place, a local church moved in and started leasing it out on Sundays for services. Now, the community saw it, but didn't say a whole lot, because at the time, we were being told there was no enforcement of the code by the sheriffs, the police, or the DA. So for a community, we just kind of saw it as, okay, they're not allowed to do anything else. Clearly, they figured out a legal way that this is the one allowable use. And we kind of stood idly by and said little. All year long, we heard rumors and hyperbole about it being sold. And we kind of wrote it off as like, oh yeah, people are upset because they can't open. You usually write those sort of rumblings off in the tower. It happens all the time. By December, we started hearing that they were at escrow. And then it was like, okay, this is really happening. So we met with our business community, and we just talked about what that would mean for everybody and how that would basically damage their ability to, whether or not carry on their own businesses, certainly transfer their own businesses, because the Tower District is what you call a commercial Main Street zone. All the businesses are zoned a certain zoning so that it protects everyone's ability to get liquor licenses, dance permits, club licenses, live music permits. All of that is based on, are you 1,000 feet from a school? Are you 800 feet from a church? And so when you drop a church in the middle, what it was going to potentially do was invalidate the liquor licenses of, say, the Painted Table and Roger Rocca's and Sequoia Brewing, Me and Ed's, and a lot of the others down the line. Now, perhaps because their grandfather wouldn't have eliminated it now, but say they ever wanted to sell their business or transfer those papers to someone else, they wouldn't have been able to. Say someone wanted to open one of the empty spaces around there within 1,000 feet of it, and it had a church with a daycare, they wouldn't have been allowed to apply for a liquor license. So it would just change the direction of the tower. And also, then we also fear, what's going to happen to the LGBTQ film festivals and parades if you have a church that says that they are tolerant, but won't use the word affirming. We all know the difference between tolerating something and affirming something. Affirming is support. Tolerance is, yeah, we'll let you pass. So it was really just a moment. So we started working, once again, this is what we've been planning for all summer. So we started working with the incoming administration, late in the month when it became very real. We started working with the incoming administration, the city council members, the planning divisions. Then we held a community meeting with over 250 community members. We gave people 3 hours and 90 seconds each to just tell their stories and their shared interests. And through that, we found out that there were other people interested in buying that had a priority to be able to buy. And as a result of it, through that meeting, we heard everyone's feelings and someone came forward. So now the Painted Table, one of our members long-term, who has been a huge community partner, has put in an offer that's consistent with the code, won't upend life for everybody. And now we're just hoping that the owners of the Tower Theater will see reason and understand that this is the best way to preserve the tradition that they've been preserving for over 30 years. And it's a way to pass it on for future generations that's consistent with the community. So that's where we're at right now.
So it looks promising that we don't have to.
I would put it this way. The community has to speak. So these are, as an organizer, the number one thing is that people's voices are not fit. They don't fail to show up. So we've had over 2,000 people sign a public petition circulated by the Fools Collaborative out here out of the Tower District.
So where can we do that? Everybody watching. Everybody.
So
watching.
yeah, so that just got turned in on Monday with over 2,000 signatures.
Okay. So we don't need any more.
No, and hundreds of businesses signed on and community leaders. So that was a very powerful message.
Okay.
We've also had hundreds and hundreds of emails and phone calls that have went into city council. So there is a huge dissent. There's been a protest 2 Sundays in a row out front, not a protest, but a demonstration. I saw. The first Sunday, it was, opposition to the church's operating. Last Sunday, they did not show up. They chose to go back to their old church and hold services there. So it was more of a support for the Tower Theater and the Painted Table kind of a gathering. So the thing that folks can continue to do, continue to write your city council members, District 1 at Fresno.com or District 2, whatever district you're in, district, the number, and then at Fresno.gov. And
so that matters.
And that's how
our voice matters.
Yeah, because the council has to approve it with at least 5 votes for it to change. So you want to email your council members. You want to email the administration, Jerry, the mayor's office, if you can.
Where does Jerry stand on it? I'm curious. I've interviewed him before in the tower.
I don't know personally. They have a belief. I mean, his whole thing is One Fresno, right? He has this belief in revitalizing the economy. So they understand that it's an economic driver, the Tower Theater. So, I mean, not that they want to go around, stopping churches, but at the same time, his administration recognizes that that's an economic stimulator, and we really need the economy to come back.
I would think he would be in favor.
He has a bold vision for the future of Fresno, and it really would be inconsistent with that bold vision for Fresno if you let the economic driver of a whole neighborhood just kind of crumble. So they're pretty committed to finding a reasonable resolution of this as well. Across the board, the city has been really great on this. It's just a tricky situation because you're talking about faith. You're talking about a faith-based organization and the right to religious assembly. But at the same time, the only reason we have the Tower Theater today, and I've been meeting with all the former commissioners and planners that built this and planned this, the only reason that it exists today is because we've set such stringent zoning laws and we've really protected over the years from anyone changing it. That's why we have it. If we let down our guard now, there's no way we'll have it generations to come. So it's really key that people keep calling in, people keep writing, and basically keep up the pressure. At this point, we're asking people, we all know that the church shouldn't be there. They stopped last Sunday. Let's hope they don't come back, that they come to reason and start following the rules. But what we want to also do is we want to make sure that we are supportive of a community option, which really was created by the community, which is for the Painted Table to buy it and maintain it under its current land use. So we're really also looking for people to support the Painted Table. Go on social media and tell them thank you.
Okay. Is there anything else we could do? Like, do we like donations, funding?
I will be coming back on that one. I personally, we don't know where this is going 100% yet. So assuming that the painted tables offer is accepted, and they choose that route, then yeah, absolutely. I'm 100% committed to coming back, starting a GoFundMe and starting to raise money to help these guys. This wasn't their plan. They just bought Torninos. They're moving to North Fresno. They were moving more northward.
They did this to help us out.
Oh, this came as a shock to everybody. This is something they're doing because they believe that they need to be champions for a community they love. And so if they do this as a love gift, I definitely want to start a GoFundMe and help them raise the money to be able
and we can support them by their other locations, by doing business at their other locations.
Totally.
You said like Torninos. What else can we do?
So Torninos, they're taking over Torninos pretty shortly. The painted table, they're doing catering. If they're still doing house, like, so if you have a family gathering, they'll do your meals.
Perfect.
Beautiful. They're doing small parties as allowable by the restrictions. So, I mean, there's great ways to support them. But really, at the end, we're also going to have to fundraise some money just to help them make the investments to get the theater up to snuff. It's been a while since it's been given a facelift.
And I mean, yeah, so historical. My mom was in a movie, and their movie premiere was there. It was called Dirty Bomb. It's about a World War II, a true story based on World War II. And so these are things that's like I think it's kind of upsetting to people. It's become like it's not choosing history over a church. It's not really an either or. It's like you can go somewhere else and let the historical building stay the historical building, right? I mean, I think we don't want to make it something it's not.
It's about heritage. I mean, I had kind of a sad moment myself. My grandparents, they saw The Sound of Music there. That was their favorite movie. I sang The Hills Are Alive at my grandfather's funeral. That's where they saw that movie together as young lovers, right? It's the place my parents went on all their dates. It's the place that I first started holding my husband's hand in public. It's more to people. It's a heritage. You look at postcards of Fresno. You try the Tower Theater is on postcards. It's on brochures. I was at Shaver and I opened up a brochure. It's a postcard. It's got the Tower Theater right on the front, right? It's an icon of Fresno. It's a symbol of who we are. And so when you change the purpose of something that key to our identity, to our heritage, not just as the community that lives there now, but as the city of Fresno, our historical heritage, as upset as it seems like many of the people, in some of the communities that inhabit the tower, boy, the historical society, they were blown away by this. They just couldn't believe that anyone would even consider such a thing. It just has such a deep meaning to the heritage of the people of Fresno that to see it change to anything other than its 50 plus year land use just seems almost shameful.
So if the church did go there, basically the zoning would change. You say those places are already grandfathered in, but if somebody else wanted to get a bar or get something, they wouldn't be able to.
Okay, so if the church were, let's say they finished acquiring it. Let's just
go down. Yeah, let's say
that the escrow closes, they acquire it. Now they're making the claim that they have a religious freedom and that they don't have to apply for a zoning change because they're a church and the First Amendment, and they're going to fight the city in court. That's their threat out in public.
Got it.
The real way that it would go down, let's bring it back down into reality. The real way it would go down, they would acquire the building. They would be told to cease and desist, as they have been operating out of it, because without a permit, you can't start a nightclub till the permit's approved, and you can't start a church till the permit's approved. So even if they were going to say, well, we need a permit, you can't operate while you're waiting for a permit. You got to wait till the permit's approved. Okay. That would require it going through several levels. First, we go to the Tower Design and Review Committee, which is a group of public appointed individuals who decide that things are consistent with the vibe of the Tower District. They make a recommendation. They would probably recommend no, because it would upend the whole system. Then it would go to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission would also look at how does that affect the general plan, the other businesses around. They're likely to make a recommendation of no, based on the fact that it would, once again, be spot rezoning, which would compromise all the sensitive use permits around it. So they'd probably reject it. Then it would go, and at each of these levels, there would be a public comment period where the public would be able to weigh in. Then it would go, if it went through that level, it would go to the city council. Well, some say it'll go through the Historic Planning Preservation Committee. They'd have to make a recommendation to approve it. After all three of those bodies made a recommendation, then it would go to the full city council, and 5 city council members have to vote for it. So, I mean, the hurdles that they have, and at every level, they're being told cease and desist. They're being told this isn't what the community wants. The community is rising up against it. So the uphill climb they have really means that they don't actually have a path to travel that's going to be successful.
So we shouldn't be too worried, is what you're saying.
We shouldn't be too worried.
But we have to be proactive.
unless they found their way into a courtroom and a friendly judge who wanted to make an injunction, right? So if they were following the same rules that the rest of our businesses had followed, from like Fab Nightclub to everyone else, no. But if special rules come into play for them based on a religious, reasoning, that would be their only avenue in. Otherwise, it literally is a multi-layered process with public comment. It would take them months upon months. They would have to bring the building up to code, improving electrical, bathrooms. I mean, just all of it. And they couldn't change it. They would have to do it within historical standards. The process for them is really,
How long did the process take? Are we talking months?
At least 6 months.
Okay.
It would be at least 6 months to get through that much, I would imagine. And like I said, there will be a public comment period, and all several thousand people who've weighed in will weigh in again at every public comment period, and I imagine a growing number at each. We're all staying well organized. We all know what the fight ahead is, and we're here to support the community solution. And if that can go forward, we're all just pleased to see that happen, and we'll show our support when the comment period opens for that. If it has to be something that upends everyone else, then that's something we're just going to strongly oppose all the way to the finish line.
So, I mean, this is, nobody understands, even with you talking here, Tyler, how hard and relentlessly you work. Right? I mean, it's like you have to see it to believe it. And I mean, I know you say make everything sound so easy, but it's just I know so much is going on. And you just took this on at the worst possible time during COVID, all these challenges. You're trying to coordinate events that can't really happen. Now you're trying to preserve a historical landmark. I mean, what can we do to support you?
Just keep showing up. Like, if they're having those protests, show up. I mean, I tell my businesses that all the time. The reward for me in this job is when I see you guys working together. When I see one business supplying the pizzas at Richie's, supplying the pizzas to Goldstein so they can be open. When I see, this is the reward that I was seeking. It was to unify people and bring them together. So if the community can unify and reach out to their electeds and tell them, hey, look, there's a community option on the table. We want to see that pursued. It's the only real option that works for all of us. I mean, this could affect people's residential property values, their commercial property values, the value of their business, the ability to sell their business, and then just their general way of life. So this is really important. People just stand up for themselves. I don't need anything. I've been blessed in this life that I don't want for much, and that which I do, it's not about money for me. It's about it's not about possessions in life. It's about the quality of life. And I mean, I check the boxes. My life is very good, and all things are well. I battled COVID myself last year. I got through it. I'm healthy. So there are plenty of things that are worth fighting for. I sewed 1,500 masks last year after battling COVID because I felt desperate and like I had nothing that I could do. So, I couldn't contribute. So this was just my way of being. I think I was feeling a lot of pain, like a lot of people were, at the inability to make effective change in a world that was on fire. And this was my run into the fire moment. And it wasn't about being a hero. It was about satisfying my own soul's need to do something. Because if I could do something, why not? If not me, then who? If not now, then when? So if people can just adopt that attitude, that's the greatest thing that they could do for me, is to adopt the attitude. If not me, then who? If not now, then when? And I'm going to take charge and do something, even if everything else around me is not working quite well.
That's incredible. What website, where should we go to follow and see the progress of everything? I know that there was a Save the Tower Theater group on Facebook. Where should we be looking?
3 pages. So towerdistrict.org is our official website. We're working on getting it updated. It's still pretty old, but I mean, it does give you the gist of what we do. It allows you to contact us, figure out which businesses are part of our network. We also have 2 Facebook pages. We have one Facebook page officially, and that is the Fresno's Tower District Events and Information. And that's where we post information about what our restaurants are offering, COVID tests, things that are coming up, if food giveaways, press releases, all that stuff, anything like that. And then, of course, if you're trying to follow the Tower Theater specific situation, that's a separate page, Save the Tower Theater. And we will continue to share articles, information, updates there as that situation develops. And that's the platform we're using to organize the community around the effort to save the theater.
And when everything goes back to like semi-normal, what are some plans that you have for us in the tower? Tell us what's new or what we can be expecting or look forward to.
Taste and Toast is top of our list. So the minute that we get back to the Tower District and we're allowed to be with each other again, we're going to shut that street down. We're going to pull out the wine glasses. We're going to bring in a bunch of wineries, and we're going to get back to drinking in the streets. We're going to taste and toast a lot.
When does that usually fall? What time of year do we usually do that?
That's usually late spring. So that'll come. It probably won't happen this year. If it did, we might be able to do a fall one. We're looking at that as an option. Our kind of thoughts based on what we understand this year is that we might get lucky enough to see the Rainbow Pride Parade come back. That's not our event, it's independent nonprofit, but we will definitely be supportive of that and big sponsors and helping to make sure it is the biggest event we could possibly bring back. If not that, then of course, I'm going to have you back out there for the Pooch Parade this year. The Pooch Parade, we definitely think back to August, or October, we're going to be back in business doing events. So I definitely plan to have a big Pooch Parade again this year, this time with the people and the actual processional and the vendors. So that's something coming. We're going to work on something bigger for Christmas this coming year. We really want to do more at Christmas time. So we're going to do something that coordinates with that. Hopefully our businesses won't be closed this Christmas, so we can actually put up lights and things. We're going to do a lot of beer crawls, pub crawls. I'm going to organize a lot of pub crawls. So we've got those. Of course, Mardi Gras Parade won't happen this year. There's just no possible way we can do that the first week of February. So Mardi Gras will come back live and large. The car show will be back, the classic car show. If I can coordinate that as like a hot August nights this year, if that was the only way to do it, we're looking at that as an option to bring the car show in the summer. If we can't, if not, it'll be back next year. And then we just have lots of other things. We're planning community cleanups, one weekend a month where the whole community come together and help beautify and clean up our neighborhood. We're going to start that as soon as the shelter ends, just to get our streets cleaned back up. So keep an eye on those pages. We'll be sharing that. It's Goldstein's took an initiative and led that, and we're continuing it. So
what are some of the new places that we're opening? Because in the owners of Fab, I thought they were opening up a second location. There's another bar club being opened up in that area.
Well, so that's Splash. It's out of town owners that I'm not sure where they're from. I haven't met them yet. Of course,
okay.
Made it hard, but that's different. But that will open eventually.
Where is that? Is that going to be next to Fab? Where was that going to be at?
So it's in the old Landmark building.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right there next to like Review. So you got Review on the opposite side of the parking lot. It's the old Landmark.
Is it going to be a club or a bar or both?
It's going to be a bar club. It's got a stage on it. So they're going to have drag shows, all that stuff as well. So that's coming. Fab is a beautiful new back patio when they reopen. Huge expanded back patio. Next door to Fab, there's going to be a new place opening, taking over the Mr. Sushi and Hair Fetish or Liquid Fetish, whatever it was. That is going to be a place called Vibes and EDM Lounge. Beautiful inside. They've done amazing work on it. It has a beautiful back patio that'll be available. There is the owners of Goldstein's are opening up another establishment in the Tower District. One of the folks that was part of the group that brought you the Lincoln took over the old Charlotte's Bakery that was next door there, and that is going to be a Japanese restaurant. So I mean, that's coming. We have Aroma that took over the old Boca that's like international menu. There's a lot of new businesses, and that's before we even start talking about the dispensaries, which are like one of the other big projects I've been working on for 6 months, is to coordinate with these folks that want to bring in these major dispensaries into the tower and create opportunity there.
Thank you so much, Tyler, for coming in and chatting with us. We're going to have you back every few months so you can tell us what's going on and update us.
I'd love to do it. You know that I love to sit down with you and chat anytime, Sparkle. You're like my favorite on-air personality. I could go back and forth with you for hours, and it just feels like I'm sitting with a best friend. So I love
it. Thanks, Tyler.
All right. Thank you, Sparkle.
Felt right in the moment. Felt right in the summertime. It felt right drinking cherry wine with you. Just wanted to own it. Just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here. Oh, we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you. Now I must confess here. Oh, I must confess, dear. Don't think I'm in love with you. Winter is coming and I don't know what to do. And there's no more use in running, no more running to you. And I don't want your loving, I don't want to be just friends. Knowing all this time we were playing pretend. Playing pretend.
industry.